Hey guys, so this is the longer video. It's going to be a slower video than the previous one, which failed to get in at less than 2 minutes. And I'd just like to start off by saying, check out my new hair. Hairdresser hair. Just came from the hairdresser. Look how it's styled. So there's been a lot of cool stuff happening. What I'll do is I'll go through the update in the same format as that we've got it written down. There's a bunch of good news this week. Basically, like, loads of rings went out, and we've got loads more to go out tomorrow or today. So we'll be up to 60% of all orders fulfilled, probably by the time this is live. And next up, we're doing the collections. So as you guys probably know, Tom's been handling the majority of the fulfillment. I've been kind of dipping in and helping out when needed, but Tom's been really sorting out the packaging, so I'm just kind of reading through his notes on what's been done. So like all the stealth bomber replacements will be going out in the next week. All the collections, what we've got the rings for, will be going out. When I said before that we were packing these collections, what we've done is we picked them, we put them into rings into bags or rings into boxes, but we've not started shipping them. They're a little bit different to ship because of the form factor that goes in them. A few more things to pack, but no real headache on that. It's just a case of getting through them. And if you've been on Twitter or if you've been on Facebook and seen the social tentacle feeds, then you'll know that the actual feedback that we've had from the people that have had the NFC Ring is brilliant. It reflects the hard work and the time and effort that's gone into to create the ring, which other people that have tried to copy the ring haven't done. And so we're really proud of that, and that was what we set out to do. It was what our investors told us to do. It was what you guys as a community told us to do. It bit us in some ways because we had some people ask for refunds and stuff, but that's their tough luck. If they've not been patient enough or not wanted to see the project all the way through to a high standard, then that's their call. I'm really proud of the actual ring as it is. Well, the vintage, classic and signature. I'm not quite so proud of the stealth bombers as maybe I'd like to be, and maybe I should be if the factory had produced what they said they would. But ultimately, the kind of rings that we've got in the pre-order store, so the vintage, classic and signature, my favourite is the vintage and the signature. I have two favourites, naturally. The classic, which I think is a black and white one, right? Yeah, the white side's nice, but it's nice. I don't know whether I'd live with it personally, but that's me, right? There's a bunch of people that have bought purple rings, and I probably wouldn't rock a purple ring. I suppose maybe I could in autumn. I don't know. Now that I've got this new hipster haircut, maybe I could pull any colour if I wanted. But yeah, so really, like, the majority of the ring's going to be out, except and part of that is a delivery that we're getting on either Friday or Saturday of 2000 fly, by the way. I'm not just randomly spotting the air. We do a delivery of 2000 rings from China. So assuming that like 80-90% they're passing QA more and more because they know what we fail now, so that's a good thing. So we tend to be able to get more rings out when they come in, and that means that by the 28th we should have been able to fill 85% of our Kickstarter orders. Now, obviously, that means there's 15% where we've not been able to fulfill, and that sucks really bad because we said, May. That was like, boom, this is going to be a big month for us on fulfillment, and kind of sucks that 15% of the people aren't going to get their order that they requested. Now, those people, I feel they've got a really bum deal. They tend to be the most difficult orders to fulfill. So there'll be a collection with a TB S or a TBBL, one of like a bunch of weird rings that we didn't have that many orders for. And what will happen is China will have sent us like a size 9 instead of a size 10, so we could fulfill it with the wrong size ring, but that's not going to help anybody. So what we have to do is we have to go back to China and say, hey guys, you didn't send us this ring. We've been doing that as we go through the process, but what China have been doing is basically focusing on the majority of the rings as they come through, which is the best thing to do because it means that we can fill the most amount of orders. But it just kind of leaves us with this backlog of weird rings. So we'll be looking at it, we'll be reviewing, and we'll be seeing if there's a way we can compromise. It may be that we say to collection some of those people, or we just drop them an email and say, this ring is going to take 4 weeks, would you rather just change it out for a TBT or something? We've not made a decision on that yet, and we will be making a decision once we know exactly what comes from China over the next, what is it, 21st now? So what, like 24th? Something like that. They're supposed to be telling us today, but as you guys know, what China says doesn't always happen. So that's where we're at with order fulfillment, really. I'm actually, it may not be able to see by the look on my face, but I'm so much more happy than I was probably a month ago. I was stressing like mad. Maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. Tom's doing a great job, and the whole kind of picking and packing and distribution team is doing logistics team is doing an awesome job. Guys at Umlaut are doing an awesome job. Every time we take bags over there, we have a little celebration naturally, because it's always great to see a bunch of rings go out. But they get them out the same day. Royal Mail pick them up pretty much always on the same day. It's about 4:30, which is great. We never have any blockages or confusion. It just gets processed. There's never any fuss, and that's, you know, all credit due to Umlaut and the post office and our guys as well. So that's great. It's nice that there's no headache on a part of the process. So this is a terrible segue, but let's segue into stealth bombers. Never segue into a stealth bomber, by the way. It's going to end in pain. This stealth bomber thing is basically the bane of my existence, and has been for like 2 or 3 months. There's somebody that's developed a product, you know, this ring. I don't like calling it a product really, but you guys all know the story with the stealth bomber, why it's been such a headache. So I have like 8 or 9 alternative approaches to solving the stealth bomber problem, and the TLDR is I really want real. Let me see. Actually, I could probably read some of them through. I'll have to be slightly careful on what I say, but for the most part, I can be transparent. I'm just looking at my notes. So there's 2 different problems with the stealth bomber ring, right? Firstly, is real carbon fibre affects the RFID signal. We've covered that a lot. And then the second thing is that the factory haven't been able to polish PVD plated rings. Now, the factory think that they've solved the problem of polishing PVD plated rings, but as you guys know, what the factory says isn't always what the factory does. And we have 2 or 3 factories now, and they're all working on solving this problem. And we have 4 factories now. 3 of them have said, the 3 that aren't in China have said, it's going to be really difficult and cost a lot of money and probably not worth doing, because every time we change a ring blank structure, you'll have to recreate the molds that are used for polishing. It's a big job. And when you take into account there's 24 sizes, that's 24 different molds every time we change. Just let's say we change a radius, or for whatever reason we change the depth by a couple of hundred microns of the absorber layer or of the antenna, or anything along those lines. But China think that they've got that part sorted, so that's great. Now, but there's a third problem that we're kind of not really talking about, and this is more of a personal problem. It's not a personal problem. This is something that I believe in. So I believe that the PVD plating doesn't look as high quality as the standard titanium. After time, it blooms, I think is probably the right word to use. It's still a high quality finish, as in, we're not scrimping on anything. We're still doing the best possible thing that we can with PVD plating. But it just doesn't have that, after like a couple of months, it just doesn't have that high quality finish that I'd want and expect. It just doesn't look quite right. And the idea is that the NFC Ring is supposed to interact with other surfaces, so the kind of point is you will, over time, create friction that'll touch the ring. So, maybe black PVD plated rings isn't the way forward, or PVD plated rings at all aren't the way forward. And from speaking with other ring providers that deal with similar, plated titanium rings, yes, you can make these rings, and yes, they do look great initially, but over time they don't stand the test of time. So yeah, it's doable, but really, if we're wanting to stick around for a while and people are wanting to keep these rings for a long time, a lifetime, which is kind of why we'd aim for, then do we want to be really using a PVD plating process, which fades or blooms after a while. I don't know. Anyway, that's where I'm at with point 3, but we don't talk about point 3 because there is no other solution, right? There's no alternative to get the metal black that works as well. The other option is what the hell is it called? I want to say hydro dipping, but it's not that at all. Where you apply a current and then the material, and you put it in a bath and it sticks to it. I can't remember what it's called, but there is another option. But the problem with the other option is that instead of it blooming, it can, if you catch it on something, it can flake away, like it'll crack away, so it doesn't actually penetrate the surface. It goes on top of it, and it's a form of plating that for some reason eludes me right now. So we've not really thought about that as an option. So there's a bunch of tests that I'm doing. So the fibre that we use, when we compressed it with glue, as you saw from a few updates ago, we still didn't solve that problem. I'm trying a bunch of different approaches to solve that problem. Better make sure I don't mess my hair up before other people see it. It's so fancy. Still not finished that problem yet, and we've still got an issue with the fibre RFID leak. So some of the options are produce a non-waterproof stealth bomber, which should be easy to do. I've got one. It just so happens I have one here, right? I don't know if you'll be able to see. So this would be kind of like, you've seen these on the, you've seen very similar, well, you're not as high quality, but you've seen similar rings hit eBay now that are rip-off NFC rings. Yeah, I'm not particularly proud of it. It works and it's a carbon fibre ring. But would I be happy to call it an NFC ring? Not really. I don't think that it lives up to the standards we've set ourselves. And that's using the same fibre that we had kind of prototyped and stuff. So the other option is to lathe finish the epoxy cover, which is similar to using a mould process. It's quite expensive, but the advantage of lathe finishing is that we don't have to worry about moulds. We literally just spin it on a lathe until we get the right end. But the problem with that is even then we still won't be able to use carbon fibre because we haven't got a carbon fibre like material. We'd end up using a carbon fibre replica paper or something. It'd just look horrible and cheap. The other option is we continue producing the rings with such a high failure rate. Now we think we can get around that by using this mould thing, but we're still not sure. Another option is to produce a one-sided ring, so that would reduce the percentage failure rate. Disadvantage being that you'd only have one side to a ring. Advantage being that it would be a stealth bomber, so you wouldn't know. Somebody else wouldn't be easily able to tell. But it's still not ideal. It's not what the NFC ring set out to be or what it wanted. Another option is to do some sort of pre-molded inlay. Now this is really interesting, and this is kind of where I want to go in the future, where we just have a metal band and then everything else around it. It's like our epoxy, an epoxy type solution, which if you've been following the wearable tech industry, like Hello Nod has got a very similar design, where it's just an inner band, and I think they've done a bunch of stuff wrong, but I really do like some of the stuff that they have done, and I think it's great to see other people innovating in this space, and we can kind of take some influence from that in the same way they will have taken some influence from us. So it's great. So that's an option, but it's a big prototype job, and the problem is every time you create an enamel mold, you have to create 24 of them, so one for every size, which is basically the problem that we have, right? We have the problem of many different models, even though we have 4 models as far as people are concerned. It's just because of the sizes. But there'd be a bunch of other advantages to that. It may be that we'd be able to do quick swappable inlays, so as we improve our inlay tech, you'll be able to keep the same ring blank, but actually just improve all of the tech inside of the ring, which would be cool, because then you never change the ring. As if it's got symbolism, you keep that, and it's just a case of changing the tech inside. It means that other people will be able to make tech that went into our blanks, or other people will be able to make blank for our tech. So that'd be nice. And we're not that far in on this. These are just concepts and designs and thoughts that approaches that we're having, and I just thought it was worth sharing And then the next thing is a black elastic band around the outer edge of the ring. No. And then the last option, and this is the one we're considering all these different approaches, but the last one is that we just drop being able to do any PVD plated rings. And this is something we are genuinely considering, just because any ring that we make has to be of high quality, right? It needs to reflect the NFC Ring ethos and brand and all the hard work that we've all put in on this. So that's where we're at with stealth bombers. Yep, no solution yet. Happy for people to share their thoughts and input. I could deal more with how we deal with the replacement ring. It's not that interesting. We're not that far on that point yet. But basically, we're going to be issuing you with a voucher for a replacement ring. So if the one that you have is slightly too big or too small, don't worry about receiving a ring that doesn't fit. We will let you choose the perfect ring from our store. There is no need for you to contact us to arrange your replacement ring. So that basically means if you've had a temporary replacement ring and you put the wrong size in, then when we will be sending out a voucher, and you'll get the ability to just order it from the store, the right size. I don't know if we'll be taking returns on. To be honest, it's not that much of a big deal. We'll probably deal with it on a case by case basis anyway. But basically, just don't get in touch with us yet because we're so swamped, and you won't get anything anytime soon anyway. Like, we'd like to be able to deal with the returns where people have ordered the wrong sizes, but we need to fulfill orders as a priority, and that's kind of what we're working on. It's not that we don't care, we need to get them done, but number one priority has to be fulfilling orders and making sure we fulfill the orders, especially for people that got the right size. So we are sympathetic, but not that sympathetic. Check out the forum. Lucky's been working on an awesome car start. A bunch of people have been documenting where the ring don't work with the phone. It turns out the normal/classic size ring doesn't work with the LG O2 or something like that. And also the Note 3, which you know about, and the Nexus 7. Don't know about the S5 yet, but that's 3 devices we know. It doesn't work great. We knew we'd have to deal with this. It's not a big deal. The mobile phone market's changing to support smaller tags, as we're seeing. Bunch of moves on that by different manufacturers. It's great to see. And we just sit tight and wait for them to catch up. I mean, they have to move super slow and make sure they get everything right. So it'll be 12 months or something, but we're still pretty positive about it. Next thing is the NFC Ring Unlock. 1.5.9 is now in production, thanks to all of the beta testers that tested 1.5.9 through the mailing list and gave us feedback, and Ken for doing the bug fixes. Nothing massive new to report on 1.5.9. Bug fixes mostly, small typo fixes. It's nice to get another release out there. Actually, there is a major bug fix. So there was an issue where if the security wasn't enabled, it could still find a way on, and if it caught a few people out. But that's resolved now, so whoop. Again, this goes out to just basically, if you're struggling to use your ring, then head over to the forum, forum.nfcring.com, where the community is doing an awesome job of helping each other out and sharing ideas, tips, tricks. But basically, if you get the ring and you're like, I don't know how to use it, which is exactly how I sound when I can't use something, then head over to the forum, and the guys over there, like I said, they're doing an awesome job. We couldn't do this without them, absolutely no doubt. Like, there's not enough hours in the day to handle 8,000, to support 8,000 people with minor usability issues. It doesn't work in their language, or we get loads. We get so many support requests, and we don't want to ignore you guys. So we ask you to head over to the forum, because that's where you guys can help each other out, and it means that you can prioritize what you want us to do. And we're very happy to do the development and all of the support and stuff, but at this moment in time, as we're still growing, we have to prioritize what really matters. And it's not that we don't find your individual use case important. It's just that there are other things that are happening that we're trying to focus on at this moment in time. And actually, this brings me nicely onto the next thing. And this is a long update, and it's kind of placid, and I figure like the people that are still tuned in at this point are the people that are gonna want to hear this. So and this hasn't been run through the other shareholders yet. This is probably going to be the first time they've heard about it. I didn't like what Oculus Rift did. Like, I don't particularly mind Facebook as a company. I don't particularly like the fact that they acquired Oculus Rift, but I think the way that Oculus Rift built their company and didn't respect their shareholders, no, shareholders being the wrong word, stakeholders, to at least have a conversation and reach out to them and say, hey, this is what we want to do, let's make sure that we get it right. I just think that what they did was, I think the way they went about it was wrong, and even if they'd have gone about it the right way, I still think that the acquisition was a bad idea. But by the by, I mean, I've got nothing against either companies. I'm sure that the shareholders and the directors are all smart people, but I'm pretty sure that it was a decision based on money. Now, the NFC Ring is getting into a point where we're starting to see more and more people wanting to buy shares. And we're already under a venture capital company. We're very lucky that the venture capital company that we're under, Orgy Capital, is probably the best venture capital company to be under at this point in time. We don't have to grow as a company, but people want to buy our rings. And for us to scale the business, we have to have some capital behind us, and we're very lucky to have Audrey and my own capital fueling the project, and we're ticking along nicely. We're where we want to be right now, which is just we're receiving orders for rings. We're solvent, we've got income coming in, we've got the money coming in through online sales without doing any marketing at all. You guys are doing all of that for us. But we need to make sure that as a company we don't lose sight on what's important and how this project moves forward. And I think that if we were to raise capital through angels, which is the normal, so basically you go kind of seed funding, which is what we've had through Origin, through myself, and then you go round one. And usually with round one, what you do is you'll get somebody that'll lead on the funding, so that'd be our capital company, and then they put some capital in, and then other people that are kind of like angel investors put in, maybe 5 or 6 of them put in X for Y. Now, I've got nothing against angel investment. I think that whole process works incredibly well, but I don't necessarily think that it's right for this project. And the reason being is that I think that the Kickstarter people, or the people that have funded this project so far, have got way more invested in the NFC Ring because they see it for their own specific use case, or they see it integrated with their product, than any angel investor would have. Because it's money, right? It's just money. These people are so used to it being just about the money part that I don't think that we'll have the same level of input. So there's one thing that I want to do. I want to give away a percentage of my shares into a pot of Type B shares, and I'm thinking like 10%. I think I'll still be the majority shareholder, which is kind of where I need to be at this moment in time so that I can make these strategic decisions and do like all the banking and stuff. But if I can take 10% of my personal shares in McClare Limited and put them into a pot of shares, let's say it's 10,000 shares or 100,000 shares or something, and then we find a way that Kickstarter backers, either through their backing so far or through an additional pledge, and I don't want to make it sound like we're clawing for money, because we're not. This is an investment, right? This is Kickstarter. You pledge for a project, and that's great. And I think we should reward that with some sort of share option. But I think what we should say is you've got access to this share option, right? Of say 1 share if you've spent £20, something like that, $30. To access this share, you have to buy another share. So you end up with 2 shares. You've spent the $30 on the pledge, and then you spend another $30 buying a share. And I need to figure this out because this is very pie in the sky. But that's just kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like, I think we need Kickstarter backers. I think we need to give Kickstarter backers the ability to own shares in the company. Now, they'd be Type B shares, which in the UK basically means that we'd have a board of directors that have Type A shares. So that'd be me, Matt, Chris, who are the shareholders at this moment in time, and then you'd have Type B shares, and that would be the community of people. And the way that I'd set it up in a shareholders agreement is I'd do something called tag and drag, which my dad actually introduced to me a few weeks ago, and I've been thinking about this for a while. And probably what I'd do is I'd want to say any acquisitions would have to be part of a tag and drag. So say, for example, Facebook came along and wanted to buy 90% of all the shares in all the company, right? Well, they couldn't buy that 90% or anything greater than, say, 51%. They couldn't buy the majority stake without fulfilling the tag and drag clause. And the tag and drag clause may be something like, right, well, 91% of all shareholders have to agree to a sale. Well, if the community is 10% of all shareholders, and the community disagrees, and so does another shareholder, for example, we may have a 20% disagreement rate, in which case you wouldn't be able to do the tag and drag, which would mean that we wouldn't be able to do the acquisition to somebody like Facebook, which would be great, if you know what I mean. I mean, I'm not like I'm hating on Facebook a bit here. I'm got nothing against Facebook. I just think, as far as matching with a company goes, your community needs to agree on where the product is, or where the ring is, versus what that company has in mind for what your project is. And if your community thinks that they're going to get locked out by any acquisition, then I think that the community should be able to say, no, that's not healthy for me. We're the community. We shouldn't have to sell. So I don't know whether this has been done before, as on a Kickstarter or as a Kickstarter campaign. And again, this is very much pie in the skies. These are ideas that I've got. I don't have a solution, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think we can do as far as giving shares or granting shares or getting Kickstarter backers to access shares in the project, so that we can empower Kickstarter backers. I sound like buzzwords now, but basically so that we don't suck, so that we don't become a horrible corporate company that doesn't care about its grassroots. And the grassroots are creating NFC rings for you guys, so that you can use them on your own projects and hack with them and have fun, and also kind of keep into the open source philosophies and community as well. So yeah, what do you think about my new hair as well? Let me know about that in the updates. My hairdresser proper loved it. She's giving me a lot of hair products that she expects me to use every morning, not realising that I work in IT and I don't make myself look fancy. So that's where we're at. I'm super looking forward to getting to a point where we've got 85% of the orders fulfilled. That is going to be so cool. I'm looking forward more to the 100% of the orders fulfilled. That'd be even better. But in general, the feedback's been really good. The apps are coming along lovely. The projects that we're working on at the moment are fun again, and that's like 2 months of grind work, right? Like dealing with horrible headache from the factory and lies, and just, I mean, when I was saying that I was stressed out, I think I said it in like 3 videos ago, I said I was losing hair through it. So I genuinely was, like, losing sleep and losing hair. And it's kind of funny looking back now because it wasn't that much of a big deal, but when there's like a delay of a month on 5,000 rings or whatever, and they drop that on you right at the very last minute and don't give you any information as to why or anything useful, you do get stressed out, and it can bring you down. And over the last week or so, once we've had all the packaging done and everything, it's kind of, once we're on top of stuff, I've been spending a little bit of time just having a bit of fun again, hacking with the PM532 and the Arduino and making this Nerf NFC gun, which has been great, and it's made me feel a lot better. I'm positive again about the project, and I'm positive for the future, and I really want to get more people involved and on board, and yeah, I look forward to the future, really. Okay guys, long video. Next update will be in about a week and a half or so. So take care. I'm looking forward to some more feedback. Bye.